I guess my question would be like, you know, what are we expecting from Kelce this year? He just had the wedding with Taylor Swift.
Be great on third down. At this point, I'm not looking for 104 catches. Be great on third down. Be good situationally, red zone. And I think he will be. But that's where he is at his career.
Yeah.
Be good in crucial spots. I'm not looking for you to play 17 games, and I'm not looking for 120 catches. That's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I want to address this topic. You know, because Travis Kelce has fallen, quite dramatically, in fact, down the top 100 rankings. And I have mentioned this in previous videos, I only take these lists so seriously on a personal level. You know, I will engage in the conversations, and obviously they provide some interesting talking points throughout the spring and summer months, but honestly, I forget the majority of them. They just do not hold that much weight for me personally. However, I did find myself thinking about the expectations surrounding Kelce right now, specifically in terms of this bounce-back season, trying to get back on track, with Mahomes also coming off an injury. And that is what I really want to dive into here. Before we jump in, Kansas City Chiefs fans, please do not forget to subscribe and watch the full length of the video, because that is unquestionably the most effective way to support the growth of this channel so we can keep having the most unbiased, grounded, and honest conversations about the Kansas City Chiefs. It makes such a huge difference, and I would really appreciate it. So yeah, I obviously believe that Kelce can still have a really big, important impact on the Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah, he's obviously doing a lot right now, and I stay away from the whole Taylor Swift angle and all of that. It annoys me, and this is coming from someone who honestly really likes Taylor Swift's music and uses her songs to connect with my little niece and all of that. So, I have zero issues with Taylor and all of that. But I do not love how much it is integrated into the NFL and all that other nonsense, because I just do not care. I do not care about any of that. I am just here for football. But it is a thing, getting married, all of that. It is a distraction. It is something that is on a completely different level. Now, obviously Kelce is an elite athlete, but he is not quite what he once was. And it would not surprise me if some of that outside attention is contributing. And so, you need him big on third down, you need him in all these big moments. And I think Kelce can still bring that to a degree, but I just think things are different. I really do. And this is what I talked about, I think, last year or the year before. His life is just different, man. You saw that in the documentary with his brother, which I think was just called Kelce or something like that. And you could see that Jason has a family, right? Married, kids, beautiful daughters, all of that. He lives relatively humbly compared to what he could afford, obviously a big house, but nothing outrageous for what he technically could afford, although I think they have upgraded recently. But he had a lot going on, and even he was still chasing things. He was still trying to find something else to do. I forget exactly, he was trying to raise pigs or something, some farm-related thing. I saw the documentary a few years ago. But yo. You could see that he still had other stuff going on. Kelce had nothing else. Travis really had nothing else. You could just see he was living that single life. He was getting a little bit older, a little bit more wild. It was just football. You could see how emotional he was. And when Jason lost, he had his wife and his little girl saying, "Daddy, you did not win, right?" And he goes, "I know." And she says, "Uncle Travie won." And it is just that no matter how upset Kelce was in that moment, no matter how heartbroken he was that he lost the Super Bowl, he had his beautiful little girl and his wife looking up at him. And it is just a different experience than when you are completely alone. It is. It is a completely different experience when you have no one in that moment and it is just you, okay? It is just you. Of course, you still have some friends, you have your mom or your dad, your boys, all of that, but it is just different. Just different. And that to me is what has kept Kelce. I know I keep going back and forth between Jason and Travis, but Travis, that is so much of what has been able to keep him so motivated, so focused, and be that dog and that monster on the field, because it is like, what else is there? Like, what else is there now? There is everything else for him. Literally everything else for him, right? Everything else. For the longest time, the richest part of his life was on the football field. Now, what he does on the football field, ISEU, is more of an asterisk. It is more of a footnote compared to all the things he does with his literal superstar wife, Taylor Swift. It is just night and day, man. It is just different. It is completely different. And he has that now. And it is just going to be different. You see it in the losses. You see it in the wins. Those things just do not matter as much as they once did. It is not to say he is not going to put in the effort. It is not to say that he is not going to try to do everything he can to win it all. But think about that game where he did not play well, against the Texans, or even when they lost to, I think the Texans game is when things really reared their head. And it was like, that night he got to go home to Taylor Swift. If he went home alone and he was single and he did not have a lot going on, that eats at you. Then you are so focused and you are coming back bigger, stronger, faster. You will not go out like this. You will not go out like this. You lie in bed, you have those thoughts, and you have Taylor being like, it is okay. It is okay. And he goes, no, but I feel like I am slowing down. And she is like, well, baby, of course you are going to slow down. That is just the way it happens. Do you think I can still sing exactly how I sang when I was 29? Like, no, of course not. And he is like, yeah, I know, but I am just not ready for it to happen. And she is like, it is okay. You are just at a different stage in your life. It is just a different conversation. It is a softer, more intimate, gentle conversation. You do not have that when you are alone. You do not have that when you are forced to figure out how to get through the darkness of night. You do not have that. It is different. It is just different. And I am curious to see how that comes together. And we are reaching that peak of him getting married. And that is why I kept pushing for the Kansas City Chiefs to get Patrick Mahomes a true weapon, not Kenneth Walker, not someone where the argument is, well, the run game will help open things up. No. This is the really cool metaphor I used before where it is just like, Patrick Mahomes is the key, but he needs a lock. He needs a lock to be able to unlock. And Kelce for his entire career has been that, right? He has been that security blanket. He has been that person on the receiving end to complement what Patrick Mahomes can do and be great. I would want to see that new go-to elite weapon. I am not going to pretend like it is easy to get another Kelce, to find the next Puka, the next Justin Jefferson, any of the guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba, all of that. But that is why I originally said go out and get, who was I on? The tight end who went to the Jets. I cannot think of his name right now, but I said go out and get someone who can be a true superstar for you. That is what you need. That is what you need. Everyone is like, no, but you need defense, this or that. And I am like, I get it, but I'll trust what that could do. You want to help things out for Mahomes. You want to help him age gracefully. You are now paying him a boatload of money. That contract is definitely a lot different than what I thought they were originally setting up with void years and whatnot. So the money is legit. It is a legit cap hit. And you still need that. And I still think Rashee Rice, as long as he is actually on the field, can be successful. And I do think that Xavier Worthy will continue to grow. And I am sure Andy Reid will continue to find ways to help him improve and all of that. And I know a couple of other dark horse players for the Chiefs can always rise to the occasion, but I wanted the Chiefs to have a more guaranteed person to work with. Just a more guaranteed consistency, which is what they have had with Kelce for so long. And so to me, that is my biggest concern more than anything about the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes being able to just hit the ground running. It is not a matter of making this offense functional or having it improve from last season and being able to do a little bit more and have a little bit more flexibility now that Kenneth Walker is there, or having Mahomes not miss a beat with his health and all of that. And it is also not, because sometimes people take my take and mistake it for me saying, try to bring it back to the fireworks years. That is not what I am talking about either, because that is one of the main counters people say. They are like, well, it is never going to be 2018 again. You do not chase the fireworks. Defense is really important, this and that. And I am not saying fireworks. But again, what made the Chiefs so great over those years? It was not fireworks. It was their ability to execute in the most important moments and at the highest level. They were able to consistently do that at a rate that other teams and other players simply were not. But it is not just Patrick Mahomes. You have to have the other complementary pieces there. And a big part of that was Kelce, without a doubt. And of course, Andy Reid can scheme up the most random player ever and have that player open for a big play. So do not get me wrong, but it is a lot harder and it is a lot more exhausting. And if Mahomes starts to slow down by a millimeter, by a half second, it makes it even harder. But as much as Rashee Rice can still have a huge impact on Xavier Worthy and even a slowed down Kelce, it will be interesting because I do think that as long as Kelce has enough production, and again, I know I keep saying this, I do not mean this tongue-in-cheek, but as long as Rashee Rice is actually there, and you have a Kenneth Walker, Andy will be able to manipulate that enough creatively and keep defenses on their toes. And Mahomes obviously will be great enough to execute and do all the things he needs to do, whether it be on script or off script, whatever it may be. But 1, at what level? And 2, at what level of consistency? I know he can do it, and I know he can do it at a high level, but at what rate, on a scale of 1 to 10, at what level, right? How dependable is Kelce in that game? And does he become more of a liability in other instances? And if you only need him to be big on third down, then okay, but what about first and second down? It does raise a handful of other questions. And you also do have a mismatch. And I will end here because it is a little bit more of an extension of what I went on my whole rant about, Kelce and marriage and all of that, where Mahomes is coming off an injury. And when you are injured, as someone who has been injured one too many times, it is that relentless pursuit to get back to where you were. It is the relentless pursuit of not accepting even a % of decrease in performance. And so we know Mahomes is just going, he is so locked in. He is so motivated. He is doing every single thing he can to be at his absolute best. And the focus is through the roof. That is not where Kelce is at right now. That is 100%. It is not possible. It is not possible. And I just wonder if that also begins to present itself on the field as well. So, pretty interesting. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Kansas City Chiefs? Travis Kelce, do you think he can still be a huge contributor? Because especially like Colin is saying, oh, only on third down and key plays. Well, that means you are a massive contributor. If you are relying on him in the biggest moments and the most important moments, then you are, I do not care what the actual end-of-year stats say. Then you are a massive contributor. So, can he still fill that role? Do they need him to fill that role? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let us get into some discussions. Let us get into some debates. But ultimately, let us just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we are really excited to be part of. I think we are well on our way to doing it. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.